You sent the last message, no reply. So you sent another one. Then a just checking in, then a hey, you good? 3 days pass, nothing. And then the moment you finally get tired, the moment you close that chapter in your head and genuinely start moving on, your phone lights up, her name on the screen. Hey, I've been thinking about you. You're not imagining it. This is not a coincidence. And it's not some twisted game she's playing just to mess with your head. What's actually happening runs a lot deeper than that. And once you understand the real psychology behind it, you'll never see attraction the same way again. Welcome to Brutal Relationship, where we skip the sugarcoating and get into what's actually going on between men and women. If you're new here, stick around. This one's going to change the way you carry yourself. The invisible pull you never knew you had. Here's the thing most guys get completely wrong from the start. They assume attraction is built by showing up, by being available, by demonstrating effort, by proving that they care. And on the surface, that sounds reasonable. If you like someone, you show it. That's how relationships work, right? Not exactly. See, attraction isn't logical. It doesn't respond to effort the way a job interview does. You can't impress your way into someone's genuine desire for you. And the painful irony is that the harder you chase, the less attractive you become. Not because she doesn't like you, but because of a fundamental truth about how the human brain processes value. Think about this. When something is always available, your brain stops registering it as valuable. The water coming out of your tap is not exciting. But if you've been hiking for 6 hours with an empty bottle and you finally find a stream, that water is the greatest thing you've ever tasted. Same water, completely different perceived value. That's what's happening when you pull back. You're not manipulating her. You're not playing games. You're restoring the natural value equation that constant chasing had destroyed. The moment you stop making yourself endlessly available, something shifts in her perception. And that shift triggers a cascade of psychological responses she often can't even explain herself. So, what do you do with this? Simple. Before you send that next message, ask yourself honestly, am I doing this because I genuinely have something meaningful to say? Or am I doing it to feel less anxious? If it's the latter, put the phone down. Let that discomfort sit. That discomfort is actually working in your favor. Let's talk about what's happening inside her mind when you go quiet. At first, not much. If you've been over-pursuing, she's been comfortably coasting. Your messages have become background noise, predictable, expected, unthreatening. She knows you'll reach out. She knows you'll reply within minutes. She knows exactly where you stand, and that certainty, as counterintuitive as it sounds, removes the emotional charge from the connection. But then you stop. And here's where it gets genuinely fascinating. The human brain has what psychologists call a reward prediction error system. Basically, your brain doesn't get excited by guaranteed rewards. It gets excited by uncertain ones. Think about why slot machines are addictive. It's not because people always win. It's because sometimes they do. The unpredictability is what creates the pull. When you were chasing her, you were a guaranteed reward. No uncertainty. No anticipation. Just there. The moment you pulled back, you introduced uncertainty into the equation, and her brain, without her even consciously choosing it, starts paying more attention. She starts wondering. She starts remembering. She starts noticing your absence in a way she never noticed your presence. A guy named Marcus told me once. He'd been texting this woman, Priya, almost every single day for 2 months. She'd respond, but always short, always casual, never initiating. He finally got exhausted and just stopped. 2 weeks later, she texted him first, asking if he was okay, saying she'd been thinking about their conversations. That wasn't manipulation. He didn't plan it. He just genuinely stopped, and that genuineness is the key. So, what do? You stop chasing out of genuine redirection, not strategy. Redirect your time and energy toward your own life, your goals, your friendships, your growth. Not because it's a tactic, but because your life actually deserves your focus. The byproduct of that authentic shift is that your energy changes, and people feel that shift. Here's what most people completely miss when they analyze this situation. Women, just like men, are wired to assess whether a potential partner has genuine value, stability, and self-respect. And one of the most revealing tests isn't something she consciously designs. It emerges naturally from the dynamics of early attraction. The test is simple. Will he abandon his own sense of self to keep my attention? When you chase relentlessly, you answer that question. And the answer tanks your attractiveness. You're basically demonstrating that your emotional state depends entirely on her response, that your confidence is conditional on her approval. And whether she can articulate it or not, that reads as low value. Not because she's cruel, because evolution built her to find emotional stability and self-assurance attractive in a partner. Now, when you stop chasing, when you genuinely pull back because you've reclaimed your focus, you pass the test without even knowing there was one. You demonstrate that you have a center of gravity that doesn't shift based on whether she replies. That is magnetic, not because it's playing hard to get, but because it signals something real. This person has a life, has standards, and doesn't need me to function. Think about it from her perspective. She's used to you being reactive to her every move. Then suddenly you're not. You seem busy. You seem grounded. You seem fine without her. And that creates a completely different version of you in her mind. A more compelling version. Let that sink in for a second. The same guy. The same history between you, but a completely different energy. And that energy changes how she sees the entire situation. So, what do? Stop monitoring her activity. Stop checking who viewed your story. Stop analyzing her response times. Stop reading into her emojis. Every time you do that, you're mentally anchoring your worth to her attention. Cut that cord. Not for her, for yourself. The groundedness that follows is the exact thing that draws her back. Here's where psychology gets a little wild. When something is present in your life, your brain adapts to it. You stop seeing it clearly. But the moment it's gone, your brain has this beautiful and completely inconvenient tendency to idealize it. Psychologists call this rosy retrospection. We remember positive experiences as better than they were, and we feel losses more sharply than gains. When you were constantly available, she couldn't activate this mechanism. You were always just there. No gap for nostalgia to fill. But the moment you created distance, her brain started doing something she didn't ask it to. It started replaying the best moments. The conversation that made her laugh for an hour. The way you made her feel seen. That one night that actually meant something. She's not reminiscing because she suddenly realized she loves you. She's reminiscing because absence created the psychological space for those memories to surface. And those memories carry emotional weight. A woman named Sophia told her friend, and this was a real conversation relayed to me, that she didn't realize how much she'd enjoyed talking to this guy, Eli, until he stopped reaching out. I'd wake up and kind of expect a message, she said. When there wasn't one, I kept thinking about the things we talked about. That's the nostalgia loop in real time. The important nuance here, this only works when there was genuine connection to begin with. If you two barely talked, there's no material for nostalgia to work with. This isn't magic. It's the natural surfacing of real moments that the constant availability had buried under predictability. So, what do? Trust that the good moments you shared carry their own weight. You don't need to keep reminding her of them. Every time you reference a past memory in a text trying to get her attention, you're actually undermining the natural nostalgia process. Let the memories do the work. Silence is a better reminder than a text. Now, this part is something that doesn't get talked about nearly enough. When you stop chasing, something changes in you, and it's visible, not in a dramatic, obvious way. But the people around you feel it. Your friends notice you seem more relaxed. You post something that feels genuinely confident rather than performative. You show up at an event and you're just present. Not scanning the room with nervous energy, not half distracted waiting for a notification. She picks up on this. Maybe through mutual friends, maybe through your social media, maybe through a brief encounter. And the version of you she sees in those moments is completely different from the version that was anxiously double texting at 11 p.m. Here's the thing about attraction. It responds to energy more than to words. You could craft the most perfectly worded message and it would still carry the anxiety underneath it. But a casual comment you make in passing when you're genuinely unbothered carries a completely different charge. She can feel the difference, even if she can't explain it. James had been orbiting around this woman, Camille, for months. Always nearby, always helpful, always a little too available. She kept him in the friend zone. Then he got serious. All about his career, started working on a business idea that genuinely consumed him. He stopped being around as much. A few weeks later, Camille reached out, asked if he wanted to grab coffee. Not because he strategically withdrew, because the version of himself he became, focused, purposeful, genuinely occupied, was more attractive than the version that revolved around her. Your life has to become the main event. She can be a wonderful addition to a full life. But the moment your life becomes a waiting room for her attention, the dynamic collapses. So, what do? Identify one concrete thing you've been neglecting. A project, a fitness goal, a skill you wanted to build, and put real energy into it. Not to seem busy, to actually become more. The shift that follows will express itself in ways you can't fake with words. This is probably the most psychologically honest section in this entire script. Human beings are notoriously bad at valuing what they haven't lost. It's not a character flaw. It's just how our brains are wired. We orient toward threat and loss far more sharply than we appreciate stable presence. It's called loss aversion, and it affects every area of our lives, including how we feel about people. When you're constantly there, she never has to confront what it would mean for you to genuinely be gone. There's no contrast, no absence to measure against. The relationship, or the possibility of one, just exists in this comfortable, undefined space where she doesn't have to commit or let go. Then you step back for real, and suddenly the question is no longer theoretical. She starts to feel it, not dramatically, not like heartbreak, but like a quiet awareness. Something that was there is no longer there. And that quiet awareness is often the thing that finally moves her. This is why chasing someone harder almost never works. You're trying to increase your presence when what's actually needed is for her to experience your absence. You can't force someone to value you, but you can stop participating in the dynamic that prevents them from recognizing your value on their own. Here's the crucial distinction, though, and I want to be direct about this. Pulling back only creates genuine recalibration when you're actually okay with the possibility that she doesn't come back. If you're withdrawing as a calculated move while obsessively waiting for her response, she'll sense the tension underneath it. Women are perceptive. They pick up on desperation even through silence. The version of withdrawal that works is rooted in genuine self-respect. It's not, I'll stop texting so she'll miss me. It's, I deserve to invest my energy where it's reciprocated, and right now this isn't it. That distinction changes everything about how you carry the silence. So, what do? Be genuinely honest with yourself about whether you're pulling back out of dignity or out of strategy. If it's strategy and you're still emotionally obsessing, do the internal work first. Journal it out. Talk to a friend. Get your head straight. Because the energy you carry inside the silence matters just as much as the silence itself. Let's say it works. She reaches out. Maybe it's casual, a meme, a memory, hey, haven't heard from you. Maybe it's more direct. She wants to meet. She wants to talk. She misses you. Here's where most guys immediately undo everything. They get excited. They reply instantly. They flood her with availability again. They basically revert to the exact pattern that created the problem in the first place. And within a week, the dynamic has reset to what it was before, because the energy she was responding to has disappeared. The version of you that she came back for, grounded, focused, not needing her approval. That version doesn't suddenly abandon himself the moment she shows interest. That version responds warmly, genuinely, but from the same centered place he's been operating from. You don't need to be cold. You don't need to make her work for every response. You just need to maintain the internal calibration you found during that period of pulling back. Stay in your life. Keep building what you were building. Let her presence be additive, not the thing you restructure everything around. Because here's the final truth, and I want you to sit with this. The goal was never to get her back as the end destination. The goal, whether she comes back or not, is to become the version of yourself that doesn't need validation from any one person to feel whole. That version of you is genuinely attractive, not as a tactic, as a natural consequence of actually doing the work. The chase ends when you stop running it, not because of what it does to her, but because of what it does to you. If this hit differently than what you've been hearing, drop a comment with what shifted for you. And if you know someone stuck in this cycle right now, the one who keeps texting, keeps waiting, keeps hoping, share this with them. Sometimes the most useful thing you can do for a friend is hand them the perspective they can't see yet.